Hello and good evening. You're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Hafiz Marzukhi. The 5th Prime Minister Tun Abdullah Ahmad Badawi was laid to rest at 2:30 p.m. today at the Makam Pahlawan, or the National Heroes Mausoleum at the National Mosque. Thousands of people, including statesmen, political leaders and members of the public, were in attendance at the funeral to honour the late former Prime Minister.
His casket, draped in the Jalur Gemilang, was carried by 8 army personnel from the main prayer hall to the mausoleum after funeral prayers were completed. Among those in attendance were Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim and Deputy Prime Ministers Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi and Datuk Sri Fadilah Yusof, along with 4 former Prime Ministers Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, Datuk Sri Najib Razak, Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin and Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob. Also present were notable political figures, including Singapore's Senior Minister Lee Hsien Loong. Born on November 26, 1939 in Bayan Lepas, Penang, Tun Abdullah served as Kepala Batas MP from 1978 to 2008. Affectionately known as Pak Lah, he became Prime Minister on October 31, 2003, after Tun Dr. Mahathir's resignation and served until April 3, 2009. He passed away at 7:10 p.m. yesterday at the National Heart Institute in Kuala Lumpur at the age of 85. Tun Abdullah is the 5th national leader to be laid to rest at the mausoleum, alongside Tun Dr. Ismail Abdul Rahman, Tun Abdul Razak Hussein, Tun Hussein On, and Tun Abdul Ghaffar Baba.
China President Xi Jinping has arrived in Malaysia for a 3-day state visit beginning today. The aircraft carrying Xi and his delegation landed at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport KLIA at approximately 6:48 p.m. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, along with Foreign Minister Datuk Sri Muhammad Hassan, Transport Minister Anthony Loke and Chinese Ambassador to Malaysia, Ouyang Yujing, were present to greet Xi's delegation. Wisma Putra had said that the visit from April 15th to 17th was at the invitation of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, His Majesty Sultan Ibrahim. Accompanied by cabinet ministers and senior government officials, Xi was scheduled to meet with Anwar to discuss bilateral cooperation and exchange views on regional and international issues of mutual interest. The visit was part of Xi's first tour of state visits in 2025, including stops in Vietnam and Cambodia. Xi's last state visit to Malaysia was in 2013, during which both countries elevated their diplomatic relations to a comprehensive strategic partnership. Malaysia and China established diplomatic relations on May 31, 1974. Now, as part of Chinese President Xi Jinping's state visit to Malaysia, Astro AWANI hosted an insight-sharing session with CGTN. Here's Farhana Sheikh in conversation with CGTN anchor Lee Cho-Yen.
Hello, I'm delighted to have with us Lee Cho-Yen from CGTN to share with us her insights on and anecdotes of the growing Malaysia-China relations. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Farhana.
Right. Cho-Yen, looking back at 50 years of ties, what do you think are some of the untold or underappreciated moments in China-Malaysia relations?
Well, one of my favorite moments was back in the 1970s and 1980s when we had those early cultural exchanges. And these exchanges included traditional Chinese art troops visiting Malaysia and Malaysian folk artists coming to China, fostering mutual understanding and respect. For example, the Po San Ting Temple in Malaysia, which honors the famous Chinese navigator Zheng He, is a symbol of our long-standing historical connections. And another aspect that I think is often overlooked is the role of Malaysian students here in China. You know, in recent years, students like those from Tianjin University have written letters to Chinese leaders expressing their commitment to promoting China-Malaysia friendship. I mean, these young people, they are the future ambassadors of our bilateral ties, and their efforts in sharing their experiences and fostering people-to-people bonds are really crucial for the long-term development of our ties. And of course, the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations in 2024, that was a big deal. There were a series of commemorative events that really highlighted the depth of our cultural and people-to-people exchanges. For instance, the China-Malaysia Campus Cultural Day held at Weinan Primary School of Xi'an Jiao Tong University was really amazing. It featured activities like Bahasa Melayu teaching by Malaysian students, a badminton coaching session by professional Malaysian coaches, a Malaysian movie screening, and an introduction to Malaysian cuisine. So these events not only celebrate our historical ties, but also lay the foundation for future cooperation and friendship.
And I think these relations and cultural exchanges will just keep on happening and grow even stronger year by year. I really feel that way. Right. So how does Chinese media actually view Malaysia's role within ASEAN, especially now that we are chairing ASEAN for the year 2025, when it comes to regional stability and economic integration?
Right. Chinese media sees Malaysia as a cornerstone of ASEAN, crucial for regional stability and economic integration. With its prime location, a solid infrastructure, and booming digital economy, it's really the perfect bridge between ASEAN and China. I mean, economically, Malaysia has been a real powerhouse. It's been at the forefront of ASEAN's integration efforts, pushing for free trade and investment. Take the East Coast Rail Link project, for example. Once it's done, it'll not only boost Malaysia's own growth, but also connect with China-Laos and China-Thailand rail networks, making the whole region more integrated. And Malaysia is also a key player in China's Belt and Road Initiative. So projects like the Malaysia-China Kuantan Industrial Park are already creating jobs, improving logistics and attracting investment. And this is not just good for Malaysia. It helps the whole ASEAN region grow together. And when it comes to regional stability, Malaysia is doing a great job, we think, strengthening people-to-people bonds and cultural exchanges. The China-ASEAN Media and Think Tank Forum in Kuala Lumpur really highlighted how important it is to bring different perspectives together and promote harmony.
I mean, I think with partnerships with our neighbors like China, for example, we can amplify our role and help strengthen ASEAN's position even more. So thank you for your assessment of that. Now, we talk about politics and trade a lot, but Chinese soft power is also expanding. So how is GTN, as a key media there, adapting to its storytelling to resonate with younger South Asian audiences?
That's a very good question, Farhana. At CGTN, we are all about reaching out to the next generation, especially the tech-savvy, socially conscious young folks in Southeast Asia. So we're diving headfirst into cutting-edge tech to create content that really speaks to them. Take our series Beyond the Fables, for example. This was launched in 2024. It's an AI-powered micro-drama that blends ancient Chinese myths with modern tech. It's not just a show. It's an experience that brings China's rich cultural heritage and technological progress to life, and it's super engaging for younger viewers. And we also get that Southeast Asia's youth are all about digital trends and pop culture. So we are making content that's diverse and relatable, touching on shared cultural values, youth empowerment, and social issues. We're focusing on what matters to them, aiming to build a real connection here. And social media is huge among young Southeast Asians. We're aware of that. So we're leveraging platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We're creating short, engaging videos and teaming up with influencers to really grab their attention. And don't forget, sustainability and social responsibility, they are also big deals for this generation. So we are weaving these themes into our storytelling, highlighting China's efforts in environmental protection, renewable energy, and social development. So this aligns with their values and could help us build a positive image among this generation. And now, lastly, we also care a lot about localization. We're adapting our content to fit local tastes and preferences, collaborating with local talents sometimes, and incorporating regional elements. So by telling stories that reflect the shared experiences of the young people in the region, we're hoping to make our content more relatable and appealing.
Right. I mean, very much exciting thing to come, and we're looking forward to it on our side. Thank you so much, Joanne, for your time and for your insights.
Thank you so much for having me. Good to talk to you, Farhana.
We'll go for a short break. Stay with us.
Menggaruk kulit kepala disebabkan keluh mumur, masalahnya lebih mendalam. Gunalah Head & Shoulders menembusi 5 lapisan untuk membasmi keluh mumur dan kegatalan. Bebas keluh mumur sehingga 100%. Head & Shoulders diuji secara dermatologi. puasnya tiada ganti.
Dah cuba elak panas terik, tapi kulit kepala masih gatal dan berminyak? Mungkin ia kelemomo. Gunalah Head & Shoulders. Berkesan menghapuskan kelemomo sehingga 100% bebas kelemomo. Head & Shoulders.
Singaporeans will head to the polls on May 3rd for the country's 14th general election. The upcoming vote will mark the first electoral test for Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, who succeeded longtime leader Lee Hsien Loong as head of the People's Action Party or PAP.
Nomination day has been set for April 23rd, giving candidates the minimum 9 days to campaign before a cooling-off day on May 2nd. A total of 97 seats are up for grabs across 33 constituencies, comprising 18 group representation constituencies and 15 single-member seats. The ruling PAP is widely expected to maintain its long-standing dominance since 1965, though its share of the popular vote will be closely watched after a weaker showing in 2020. It faces a renewed challenge from the opposition, which has steadily gained ground in Parliament over the years. The vote comes amid a gloomy economic outlook, with Singapore revising its 2025 growth forecast down to 0 to 2%, citing pressure from US tariffs.
Harvard has rejected numerous demands from the Trump administration that it said would cede control of the school to a conservative government that portrays universities as dangerously leftist. Within hours of Harvard taking its stand, the administration of US President Donald Trump announced it was freezing $2.3 billion in federal funding to the school.
The funding freeze comes after the Trump administration said last month it was reviewing $9 billion in federal contracts and grants to Harvard as part of a crackdown on what it says is anti-Semitism that erupted on college campuses during pro-Palestinian protests in the past 18 months. Harvard President Alan Garber wrote in a public letter on Monday that demands made by the Department of Education last week would allow the federal government to control the Harvard community and threaten the school's values as a private institution devoted to pursuit, production, and dissemination of knowledge. The issue of anti-Semitism on campus erupted before Trump took office for his second term, following pro-Palestinian student protests last year at several universities following the 2023 Hamas attack inside Israel and the subsequent Israeli attacks on Gaza.
Gaza is experiencing its most severe humanitarian crisis since the outbreak of hostilities 18 months ago. At the press conference on Monday, the United Nations has issued a stark warning on the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, blaming Israel for blocking aid and violating international law.
Israel has responsibilities under international law as the occupying power to adequately provide basic services and humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza. That is not happening. We will point out the situations, the violations of, we feel, is international law.
Dujarric confirmed it has been a month and a half since any supplies were allowed through Gaza's crossings, the longest halt to date. UN staffs reported intensified Israeli attacks in recent days, causing high civilian casualties and further damaging Gaza's fragile infrastructure as well as UN warehouses and food centers. While an Israeli strike on Sunday has hit Al-Ahli Arab Baptist Hospital, the last fully functional hospital in Gaza City, with 200 Palestinian patients and injured forced to leave the buildings. Health authorities warn nearly 34 hospitals in Gaza have been completely or partially destroyed by Israeli airstrikes. Meanwhile, the latest ceasefire talks in Cairo ended without progress, according to Palestinian and Egyptian sources, with Hamas insisting that any deal must include an end to the war. Egypt's latest proposal calls for Hamas to release 8 living Israeli detainees in return for a 40 to 50-day ceasefire. In exchange, Israel would free hundreds of Palestinian detainees and resume humanitarian aid deliveries to Gaza. Now that report wraps up AWANI Tonight. Check out our web portal, keeping you informed on the critical events shaping our world, all in one place at international.astroawani.com. That's all for now. I'm Hafiz Marzukhi. Thanks for watching and good night.